Craig, because you know a lot about music, what I always wanted to do is take a look at the top 10 selling artists in Germany to see what that reveals about German culture. So maybe we should go through that together, because I sent you the list. It's from Wikipedia, and it's quite interesting, right?
Yeah, the silence is deafening on this end. That's all I'm saying.
I think I've lost Craig.
It's an interesting list. Let's put it that way.
I think that's a very good way of putting it. Oh, by the way, I meant to say this, I'm going to be putting together a Spotify playlist of this, because I can't play any of the songs on the podcast because Spotify would wrap me over the knuckles for music rights, and I think a couple of the other platforms. So I'm going to be putting together a playlist of these the songs that we speak about and the artists that we speak about. So let's just have a look at the top 10. So these are apparently there's some kind of board. What is it called again? Hang on, I wrote it down here somewhere. It is the BVMI in Germany that does certifications, and this list is done since the certifications were done. So it's only from 1975. So the Beatles are almost a no-show on this, because most of their
Stones are not there, right?
The Stones are not there.
The ones you would expect.
The ones that you would expect. And what we have is a list of, let's say, the top-selling artists from 1975 onwards. And yeah. We can start with number 10. So number 10 is Helene Fischer, and she came up on a podcast episode a few weeks ago with the Schlager music.
Yeah, right. Yeah, singer. I heard that. It was interesting to hear.
Yeah, and she was saying that Helene Fischer is the number one artist in Europe at the moment.
I found it a bit, so I know who she is, because when you do a lesson with someone, to go back to the kind of working gig, when you sit down and then you're trying to find that connection with someone, so you go through the whole work thing and then you maybe think, okay, let's get into the hobby. So you just kind of naturally try and, if you find a connection there, right?
Yeah.
Or not, it doesn't really matter, but sometimes you do. So you say, what kind of music do you like? And this comes up from time to time. And I took it upon myself some time ago to listen to her, and it's, not my cup of tea. Yeah. But she's like Celine Dion, but singing in German. Because I watched a video tonight. I don't remember what it was called, but I watched a video tonight. It was all glam and glitzy and very polished. And it is a very Euro-sounding record. It reminded me a bit of some Italian language artists like Eros Ramazzotti and things like that. And I read further down that she'd done collaborations with him or something, but it had that kind of polished Euro sound. Yeah. And of course, she is the queen of Schlager, right?
She's the queen of Schlager. Yeah.
I believe that's her middle name.
I don't know much about her. I don't know much of her songs. The only one I know is that huge hit that she had, that Atemlos durch die Nacht. I don't know if you know it.
Maybe that's what I listened to tonight. It was instantly forgettable. So,
I wish it was forgettable. I have it stuck in my mind for days after I hear it. And we used to live in Würzburg, one of the cities that we lived in before. We lived across the road from a nightclub, and these young trendy kids, like 18, 19, 20 young students, because Würzburg was a university town, and this was the club to be. Dance music club. They would come out at 3:00 in the morning singing Atemlos durch die Nacht by Helene Fischer. And I'm like, what? In South Africa, those kind of stars are more, I would say, for the older people that listen to folk music.
It's a generational thing.
Yeah, but not Helene Fischer. She's very, very popular with everyone, it seems.
And I just found out she was born in Siberia.
Yes,
I don't think those two things are intrinsically linked, right enough. No, this is how she turned out, right? If you're born in Siberia, this is what happens. You know, look what will happen to you. So I think she's done quite well for herself, though. Let's be fair. You know, she sold a lot of records, and good luck to her.
But actually, now that you say that, she's kind of an expat or an immigrant, right? So maybe I can try and get her on the podcast, The German Experience.
Tenuous link, ahoy. You know?
I'm sure she doesn't have a waiting list for interviews. Anyway, so yeah, that's Helene Fischer. Number 9 was a name that you'd expect. I would have expected this name higher, Michael Jackson.
I played a gig the day he died.
Wow.
That was quite trippy, because I remember just being a complete anticlimax. Not really. There was just that. I think all of the stuff that came out afterwards.
Yeah.
Obviously, as we all know about the allegations in documentaries and the payoffs and all of that stuff, the dark side, if you want to call it
the stuff that tainted.
The day he passed away, it was a Friday, because I remember we played a gig in a bar called Stompers in Itaewon in Seoul, South Korea, and my band at the time called the 40 Days. We played a show, and it was an okay crowd, but the talk was just about, did you hear the news? And it was very.
That was it.
You know. But Michael Jackson had some great songs. I mean, he had a great team of writers around him. The stuff he did with Quincy Jones and all that stuff.
Yeah.
They knew how to produce quality music. That's the thing, you know.
Yeah. So I think he's the number 3 selling artist of all time. And that's also not just taking from 1975. I think if you go back, they do some kind of estimate for before that, but the top selling artists are something like the Beatles. I can't remember who number 2 is. It might be Elvis Presley and then Michael Jackson. So he's huge. So I would have expected him to be there in Germany, but no, Germany is not so much of a fan.
There are some interesting choices above him.
There are some surprises. So let's move up the list. At number 8 is Marius Müller-Westerhagen. I have no idea who this guy is. I looked him up on Wikipedia for the first time today.
Me too. All I'm going to say is look up a song called "Sexy." For me, this is maybe the unsexiest shouting of the word "sexy" that
is
possibly heard for some time. You know, it's.
I think that would not make me amorous. No. To be yelled at like that. Sexy!
I don't know many women who kind of respond to that. Being catcalled is one thing, I think, right? If that happens in this day and age. But you know, this guy just bellowing at the top of his voice.
Sexy!
Maybe he's working on a building site or something. I don't know. The context isn't clear.
I don't understand all of the lyrics. I'm not here to analyze the lyrics. It's just very strange.
He seems to have done quite well, though. He's number, what did we say? He's number
8. Above Michael Jackson, Craig.
So I rest my case, Your Honor.
Well,
How do I know?
Let's move up the list. And now we've got at number 7 and 6, we've got some well-known names, so we don't have to stick too much. These are, again, international acts. Madonna is at number 7, and number 6 is Queen. I think, okay.
I only have something to say about Madonna. When was the last time Madonna produced a good record? I will tell you. The answer was, I think the album was called Frozen. The song was definitely called Frozen, and that's more than 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah, I remember Frozen. That was
She just sells expensive concert tickets, and I think as an artist, she's played that fiddle to death, if you'll pardon that bit of it. You know.
Yeah, I think
we're not getting anything new. But that album, Frozen, I think the album was also called Frozen. She did it with a guy called William Orbit.
That's right, with the William Orbit.
And he's an interesting kind of guy, and I like that album. But everything she's done has been shit.
Yeah. And there we go. There is Craig's professional analysis. Everything else she's done is a bit shit. And then the other one was Queen, which I think
might be a bit controversial, but I find Queen to be incredibly overrated.
Overrated, Craig.
Overrated. I find them to be. They're in my. See, people get all pissed off at me for this.
I'm getting very angry right now.
I'll tell you why. I think as a band, they had all the right ingredients, right? The panache and the flavor and the front man and the guitar player who looked like he looked like this kind of Prince Regent guy with a big hair and all that, you know, and one thing and another. But I just find them to be incredibly one-paced, you know? They've had some good songs, of course, right? Yeah. But I'm like, yeah, okay.
Okay, so there we go. Madonna and Queen.
You'll get all the people kind of calling you and saying, who's this asshole? What's he talking about?
I'm losing listeners as we're continuing with this discussion. I can pretty much see that. The next at number 5. So we're in the big songs, the big selling, the absolute classics. Die Toten Hosen is at number 5. And these guys, so this was on Wikipedia. Die Toten Hosen literally means the dead trousers, or figuratively dead boring, or brewer's droop. It's a German punk rock band from Düsseldorf. And
you know what brewer's droop is?
I'm scared to ask.
Shall I tell you?
Yeah.
It's the inability to gain an erection because you've drank too much.
Oh, really? Because you drank too much. Okay, so that makes sense. Brewer's droop. Okay, so that's what Totenhausen means. So, yeah, have you heard anything from these guys? Die Totenhausen.
I have, and today I refreshed my memory from, because I haven't listened to them for a while, but I watched quite a lot of their live videos, and yeah, they have this huge following, and I think they were supposed to tour this year, if I remember rightly. I think they were either doing an acoustic tour or a 20th anniversary of some kind of tour, but gone in a day, the tickets, yeah. So these are kind of iconic German band, of course, hailing from Dusseldorf, and that in itself adds a lot to it. I think it has this kind of particular flavor. They bring their own kind of style to it, you know, because they're not, ageist ones here, but yeah, they're not 20. They're not in their 20s. These guys, they've been around a long time, and they're still kicking it, and they put on a great show by all accounts.
Yeah, they've sold a lot of records. Obviously, they're number 5, and one of the first German songs that I heard when I moved here was actually "Hier kommt Alex," is one of their apparently classic songs, and it's one of the ones I heard really, really early on, and it's a belter. It is a really good tune. It gets under your skin, and it's thing. And the thing about the Toten Hosen is they're supposed to be a punk band. I think that's what they're sold as, and maybe they were in their early days, but like
maybe in spirit.
Yeah, maybe in spirit. Because I know that they also have a lot of political stances against Nazis and against, I think that they're pro-animal rights and so on. So they've got a lot of political standpoints. So they're a little bit punk from that point of view. But their music is not punk. It's pop rock, if anything.
If anything, it's a bit tame for punk, right? My definition of punk is
absolutely
a bit angrier, to be honest.
Yeah.
In every aspect of that. Well, that's not to decry from, because I think they have some good tunes, and the production's quite good. It's not too polished. It's not cheesy, right? Which I think, if anything, out of this whole top 10, this is maybe the uncheesiest of even. Exactly. I'm coming up with all these new words today, Sean.
Look at you, just coining words.
I know. I'm a lexicographer extreme, you know.
I thought they were maybe Scottishisms. But
let's not go there, because then everyone will be like, I don't understand any of this.
The other Toten Hosen song that I want to talk about is a song that if you go to, I guarantee you, if you spend any time in German clubs, that you will have heard, because at a certain point in the evening, a lot of these clubs that play a little bit of rockier music or whatever, they'll hit the Am Tagen wie dieser from the Toten Hosen.
I know this song well.
And it's this stadium anthem, Am Tagen wie dieser, and everybody sings along in the club.
It has a bit of a U2 kind of thing to it as well. There's a bit more of that.
Yeah.
I think they were going for that sound, that kind of little, stadium rock kind of sound.
All right, so that's the Toten Hosen. And now we're getting into the top 4. Rolf Zukowski. And this is a guy that I know. I know his music very well, Craig, because I have 3 young children at home. So
I thought about this when I listened to it today, because I thought, I don't know who this guy is. And then I looked at how many units he sold. It sounds really horrible when you say it that way. And it's a shitload, man. It's just he's just sold an enormous amount of records.
He's made a ridiculous amount of money. And what he does, for those who don't know, is he also writes songs for adults, as he puts it, but where he's really made a name for himself is as a writer of children's songs. But the thing is, he's not just written children's songs that people like listen to on an album. He's written children's songs that have become part of the German culture. So my kids go to kindergarten and they learn songs in kindergarten, but these are not nursery rhymes or ancient things. These are songs that Rolf Zukowski wrote in the 80s and the 90s. It's incredible.
So this is when we talk about culture, or the role that music plays in culture, this is a perfect example of something that you'd never expected to happen, or to take it to not just a commercial successful level, but to be integrated into the culture in such a way that it's, it's second nature for your kids and all the other kids around about them who know this.
Yeah.
Or they've heard these songs.
Yeah. And even I, who am not a native German, I know these songs because I've learned them from my kids who come home singing them. And then there's a traditional song that you hear every year at Christmas, in der Weihnachtsbäckerei, which I always thought was a traditional German song. It's a song that he wrote in, I think it was 1980. I can't remember what year it was. So he wrote Christmas songs that every single German knows these songs. It's unbelievable.
If you're going to leave a legacy or your mark somewhere, then there you go. That's as good as it's going to get, I think.
Exactly.
That'll be a hard one to beat, even though he's not number 1 on the list, but he's quite, the songs are, they're kind of quite different. They have a kind of 70s and 80s feel to them, a very rustic, not quite folk feeling to them, but very minimalist. And, I don't really understand. I only listened to 2 songs. One was the Christmas one, and I don't remember the other, but I got the gist of it. And I thought, for a certain market, it's great. And
he's absolutely killed it. And I can tell you, I would rather listen to his kids' songs than some of the other kids' songs that are put on CD and albums these days. It's just, I can't handle it. Rolf Zukowski,
we come back to the guy screaming sexy again. It's like, sexy! It's a bit like that, We give a tip of the hat to Rolf. I think Rolf did a good job.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know if he's still with us or not, but kudos to Rolf.
Now this, number 3, is for me perhaps the most surprising that this artist would be at number 3, beating Michael Jackson.
Do you think there was some envelopes passed under the table here, Sean? Do you think there was some shenanigans going on?
I don't know, but number 3 is Phil Collins.
Yeah. I was underwhelmed I was as underwhelmed as you were surprised, I think.
Phil Collins,
I just thought, really? And then I looked at how many albums he sold, and it's outrageous.
It is outrageous. Incredible. It's offensive. It's offensive, Craig.
His solo stuff I find to be incredibly navel-gazing and not in a good way. It's MOR at its worst. It's just dire, it's just it's well produced, and he always has great players playing on his records, and he's a fine drummer, but he's just really, really bland. He's beige personified.
He's very vanilla. That's very true. There's some classics that he's got. I mean, if I think about "In the Air Tonight," was him solo, right? "In the Air Tonight."
There's your classic drummer.
Yeah, with the drum fill. Yeah,
knows.
Exactly.
It's a fine song. It's great. I would even go as far as saying it's great. It has that really good bit. And he did a song called Easy Lover, which is a great duet with the guy his name was Philip Bailey. He played with Earth, Wind and Fire, I think.
Okay, I don't know.
And it's called Easy Lover. That's a duet. That's actually really good. But most of the other stuff he does, it's here today, gone tomorrow. Right. Even if it lasts that long in my ear space, it's kind of meh.
Yeah. So this is interesting. I play in a band, and my drummer, I always thought this was a strange fact. My drummer is like the biggest Phil Collins fan that I know. I've never met anyone who was a Phil Collins fan. Like, I know people who like his music, or they, it's Phil Collins. I when I think of Phil Collins, I don't hate him. I don't think it's terrible. But like you, I think he's just a guy on the radio. I wouldn't say he needs to be number 3 on a country's best-selling artists of all time. But my drummer loved him, and I thought it was just an anomaly with my drummer. I'm like, okay, this is a special case of someone who's obviously, from whatever reason, just become really attached to Phil Collins. But it seems like this is a German thing, if the man is at number 3 of album sold.
It must be. There must be something deeper than you and I can ever even imagine.
Maybe. No, I think it's beyond us. All right, so that's number 3. Unbelievable that guy beat everyone else on this list. Number 2, Peter Maffay. And
Peter Maffay. What do you know about him, Sean?
Very little. The only thing I knew about him is that I saw a lot of posters of him when I first moved to Germany. He was giving some shows, but more than that, I never checked him out. I didn't listen to him.
I tell you, I didn't. I just made a couple of notes as I was watching these videos, and I wrote down 5 words.
Yeah.
An 80-year-old Bon Scott.
Okay.
That's what I wrote down to describe this guy, because Bon Scott being the original singer with AC/DC, if he was still alive, right? The thing is, he's not alive. But he looks like an 80-year-old, or what Bon Scott would look like if he was 80 years old.
Right.
He's an interesting old man. He's quite in good shape from what I've seen the video-wise. Yeah. He wears like waistcoats with nothing underneath it and all this stuff. And I don't know if this is a fetish thing or not. I'm a bit confused by the whole, this kind of imagery, and it's a bit off-putting, because I can't really take him serious after that. No. And his whole band do it as well, right? So they're all wearing these waistcoats and with sleeveless, of course. And
I need to look at the videos.
And your music's a bit...
Yeah, I listened to 1 or 2 songs, and the songs kind of washed over me. It wasn't anything that I was, but like I said, I've only listened to 2 songs. But what this guy has done is unbelievable, because he, according to Wikipedia, he holds the record for most number 1s on the album sales charts in Germany. So he's had 16 number 1 albums on the sales charts, and he holds the record in Germany for most albums that have sold over 1 million copies. He's had 14 albums sell more than 1 million copies. This guy is ridiculously successful.
And if you put this in a context about the way the music business is now, without getting too off track about things, but the way music's consumed, the way music's produced, the way music's manufactured these days, you don't actually physically have to buy anything. I mean, you just download it, or you listen to it, you stream it.
Yeah.
That's it. You don't have to do any more than that. Physically, he sold all those millions of records. People have went into record shops and physically
1 million times
given their hard-earned cash on the table, after a hard week in the factory or whatever they did in their office, and they're like, "Yep, I'm going to take this home."
This is the one that I'm paying for. My God, that's over
And they just
14
kept doing
times.
it and doing it and doing it and then doing it some more. And it's, and when you see him, you're just like, really?
You?
It's kind of
This?
like, yeah, okay, fair enough. But he has that kind of, he looks like an aging, he looks like David Hasselhoff, who's aged really badly.
Yeah. Yeah. He
But
does.
not quite his tan.
I think that's a very accurate description of Peter Maffay from the pictures I've seen of him. So yeah, that's
quite the mullet and the mane and all that going on as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a very machismo thing going on with his music. He's very, I'm a man and I want everyone to know.
And incidentally, he's originally from Romania, I think.
I checked that out too. It's kind of interesting when you're getting these people from backgrounds, but he's been phenomenally successful. I mean, you can't even quantify, as we just tried to quantify, you can't really quantify the success of these artists in an English-speaking context, because we are surrounded by English, English lyrics, English music, being our native language. So when you hear something of a foreign language, in this case German, you think, okay, that's some interesting. But he's only number 2. He's not even good enough to be number 1.
Craig, he's not even number 1. Number 1 is Herbert Grönemeyer. Now, he is someone that I actually knew before I came to Germany, because my German teacher in South Africa played him for us in German class when we first started learning A1 German. And she was like, this was 2006. And she played a Herbert Grönemeyer song in our German class. And I was like, that is crap. But it was just one song. What do you know about Herbert Grönemeyer?
Okay, so I've had some interesting, because I'm in the Ruhrgebiet, or I'm in this Ruhrpott area, right? So Bochum is only, it's 15 minutes away by car. It's whatever, it's 12, 15 kilometers away from Dortmund, from where I am.
Right.
But he's very, even though he wasn't born in Bochum, so there's kind of, but a lot of his songs are reminiscent of his childhood and inspired by childhood memories and one thing and another. But I found him to be quite, after doing digging a little further, I found a song that he wrote called Currywurst. So just check that out. That's all. That's his legacy, man.
That is about as German culture as you can get. You're not going to get
national
more German
delicacy, right? It's and it sounds, it's a little, it's not great. I don't like it at all. I love Currywurst, but the song I could take or leave.
That's the thing about Herbert Grönemeyer, and I think a bit Peter Maffay for me as well, who was a number 2. Is when I listen to them, I think, how did these people sell? I just don't get it. And I think it's a bit like the movies as well. I can't get it because I wasn't raised in this culture. I didn't see it develop. Or
we're missing that integral link.
Yeah,
I think.
And with Herbert Grönemeyer, the thing is, I remember when I first moved here to Germany, I was very excited to discover German music and hear, what German music was about. And the thing that I noticed at the time when I arrived here, when I listened to everyone, all the popular German singers at that time, the male singers are all very nasally. They sing with a very nasal voice. I don't know if you know what I mean, but it's a very distinct sound that male German vocalists seem to have. But when I listen to Herbert Grönemeyer, I have a suspicion that he was the one who started this, because he has an incredibly nasal style. Incredibly nasal.
Here's a comparison, although I don't think you, musically or sonically, you can't compare these two. But let's take an example, just as you said there, of a similar vein in an English-speaking singer, and that would be Leonard Cohen. When you hear someone like Leonard Cohen and you hear a song like Suzanne or Bird on a Wire or something like that, or Hallelujah, as everybody knows, then you hear this voice of just coming from this place, right? And it's I like about Leonard Cohen from time to time, but Herbert Grönemeyer was a bit, it's lacking something. There was a song I listened to today called The Way. Yeah. And it's really boring.
It's boring. And I've tried on numerous occasions since arriving. Like I said, I've known about Herbert Grönemeyer for many years, and I've tried on numerous occasions because I knew it was this big cultural. I didn't realize he'd sold this many albums, but I knew that he was a cultural, someone important to the culture. And every time I tried, I just couldn't get through more than 2 songs because of exactly what you're saying. It's not bad. It's just so boring. I just lose interest and I drift off somewhere else, and it just kind of plugs along.
Life's a bit too short for this, mate.
Life's too short for...
after just kind of putting the final nail in there and old Herbert's legacy, he has sold over 13 million records. So
That's what I love about. We just sitting here putting these people to pieces, and they've sold millions and millions of albums. And we're like, oh, sorry, not good enough, guys.
You and I, we're talking out of our arses. So basically, that's it, right? Yeah, what do we know? But 13 million plus in sales can't be wrong.
Yeah.
Some of the concerts put on as well. There's all those ones. But a thing I noticed looking through some of these artists, the German artists, they love doing these TV performances on a big stage with an orchestra and all that stuff. So they like this kind of big, lavish sound and all that. And I'm quite fond of that myself. But they all do it.
Yeah,
Die Toten Hosen were doing it. They all do it. So it's kind of like a thing. Or we're a rock band, but we can play with an orchestra. Or I'm a really boring guy that sings about currywurst, and I can do the same. And you're like, okay, great.
Okay. All right.
I get it.
So that is the top 10 selling artists in Germany. So what do you think? What's your summary? What do you think that says about German culture, Craig? Do you think we can extract adequate analysis from this?
I think that there are 2 or 3 key things, so I'll summarize really quickly for you. I think it's a generational thing. Like nothing on this list is from the 21st century.
Except for maybe Helene Fischer.
Yeah, well, I take that back. But more or less, I was expecting to see someone a little more I can't even remember her name, Beyonce or someone like that. I was expecting to see someone a bit more contemporary.
Yeah. I mean, Rihanna, for example. Rihanna is a huge seller in Germany.
11 or 12, yeah. I don't even know any of her songs. Umbrella, did she do an Umbrella song?
Ella, yes. That's
the only one I know when it's not a kid's song, right? She's not on my playlist, but yeah. So I think, what are the young people listening to? This list is missing someone who's telling me, okay, this is new. This is exciting. This is innovative. This is the new punk.
Oh no, there doesn't seem to be anything like that. I think the only thing that maybe comes close is the German hip hop, because I think a lot of the youth, and I think these hip hop bands like Bushido and Zido, I guess, and there's a few of them. I don't know them that well, but I think that's what the youth are lapping up right now. But like,
I believe so. At the same time, though, I have a little antidote to this kind of. I don't want to say anything really negative about German music, because even though we've just kind of tore a new one, right? Yeah. But the list itself is quite middle of the road, and it's quite safe, and it's quite matter of fact. There's nothing really on here that would say to you, buy this. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
You might take a Queen record or a Michael Jackson record, right? But
maybe Toten Hosen.
There's a lot of on there. Yeah, okay, true. You can pick and choose a few things from it, but as a list, you think, okay, great. I'm going to give you a couple of names to check out. So
yes, please.
The first one is a band from Hamburg. They're called Rain Dance Kid. I mentioned them earlier, and I saw them live in Dortmund at the end of last year, and they were fantastic. The guitar player is American, but he's living and working in Germany, and the rest of the guys in the band are German natives, but they sing in English.
Okay.
And I would just go check them out. They're a really interesting band. The singer sings and plays a banjo, but not as you would think it. There's not a lot of country going on here, but there's bluegrass influences. There's a lot of influences. There's a lot of folk influences and pop and different things like that. So yeah, they're really good. They're called Rain Dance Kid.
Okay.
The gig I went to a couple of weeks ago, my friend Jonas Kuhne, he just released an album just in time for Corona this year, so he's not had a lot of chance to promote it, as in go play. See, that was the first gig he's played, of course, since last year, I think.
Right.
His new albums are called Between the Bars and Blinding Lights.
Okay.
Jonas also sings in English. He's very reminiscent, a lot of Neil Young influences and things like that. So yeah, it's a really, really cool album. I would definitely recommend it. It's well worth a listen.
Okay.
Another one I can give you, I get 2 more. One is Children of Boredom. If you like a bit of indie, shoegaze, math rock, this kind of thing. Children of Boredom, they are based out of Dortmund also. And the last one I would go for is my friend in Bremen, where it all started for me, this kind of expat journey. We've known each other for about 20 years because his wife is Korean. My friend's Mirko, and his band, which is really him, he does everything from top to bottom, the artwork, everything. Him and the Congregation, they have a new record coming out next week or next month or sometime soon. It's called Wasteland.
Okay.
Mirko also sings in English.
All right. I'm going to put
He's
those.
he's very influenced by Springsteen and the like.
Okay, very cool. I'm going to put all of those in the show notes so people can check it out.
I hope they enjoy it. So that might balance out some of the stuff
we've
we
spoken
could
about. So cleanse the old palate, as they say.
Yeah. But there's definitely a lot of musicians here in Germany who are trying interesting things, and they'll always, as long as there's that rock and roll spirit, or there's that urge to do something different musically, or just to go and jam with your buddies in the basement, or whatever it is, you go and do it.
And it's
that musical release.
Go out and see bands. What I love about, I mean, obviously not now with coronavirus, but when things get back to normal and clubs start opening up, just go to clubs and watch unknown bands play, because you undoubtedly see some gems that may never become famous. Maybe they do one day, but it's not the point. That it's on that night that you see them, they take your breath away. That's something that I love to do.
And if not, if things are a little difficult with gigs and putting them on, and you can still support local musicians. You can still go and buy their records, or you can support them through merchandise and anything like that. You know, drop your €10, buy a T-shirt from them, or a CD, or whatever they've got. You know, and because musicians have to eat too, Sean.
Yeah,
right?
They do. I've heard that they do eat. That they do. It's not just a rumor.
Have to drink, but that's for another
I think mostly have to drink.
First, we give them some bread and meat, and then we throw them a beer or two. So.
Craig, thank you so much for joining me to talk about these things and to go through and completely, let's say to analyze German culture through their music tastes. People can reach you. Where are you reachable, or where do you want people to find you?
You can find me on Facebook at Expat Music Pod, or you can simply search for Can't Find My Way Home. And also on Instagram at can't.find my way home. And of course that dot makes all the difference.
It's the dot of genius, we can say.
And if you look on Spotify for Can't Find My Way Home, I'm not Steve Winwood. He gets more money than me. So. And he's definitely more talented than I. So if you look on Spotify or anywhere you find your podcast, you'll find Can't Find My Way Home.
Okay, good. And I'll put it in the show notes, of course. Thank you so much, Craig, for being so gracious enough to come and redo this interview. It was so much fun talking to you a second time.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and hopefully we can do it again. Maybe you can come and pay me a visit this next time.